This man, Clavicular, says that he is influenced to do anything, that he's his own man and he's just logical. I disagree. I think he's comparing himself to other people and saying there's better looking people out there, and so I need to do better.
So you want to be 99th percentile at all aspects of life?
Absolutely.
Except maybe longevity.
Yeah.
Coach Greg, in today's video, it's on Clavicular. This guy is one of the most interesting characters I've ever seen. He reminds me of a combination of Togi and Brian Johnson, of all people, rolled up into one, except this guy is not trying to age Max. He doesn't care about living. He cares about maximizing his looks at all costs. I don't want to spoil the entire video, but here's some things that he's done. He started using steroids at 14. He wants to lengthen his limbs because he's only 6'2", and he's getting titanium implant surgery in order to make him look prettier. He wears makeup, and he's a neurodivergent, which I learned has something to do with autism or something, and he's very, very bright. I'm going to argue that he has body dysmorphia and that he somehow messed things up during his childhood, and that this is not the kind of guy that we should emulate. Now, he does in fact make exceptional points. I'm not gonna lie, I went into this a little bit biased, but he expresses himself very well. It's hard to believe he's only 19 years of age. If you have a kid watching this guy's videos, I'm warning you, be careful.
Take me back to 14-year-old Braden. What was the exact moment you decided that natural puberty wasn't enough?
I thought, why would I work out as a natural, take years to make the progress that I can make in months?
This already could be an entire video. He started injecting 300 milligrams of testosterone a week at 14. He asked, where did you get this information? And I was praying he wouldn't have said from Coach Greg, and thankfully he said Derek. Why should you wait when you can get your gains sooner than last time? For being an intelligent 19-year-old, I'm surprised he couldn't answer these questions himself. At 14, you haven't even gone through puberty yet. Why are you rushing puberty? Why do you want to be an adult when you're a child, a teenager? Some of the best years of your life are going to be when you're a teenager. And when you get older, you would do and pay anything to get those years back, but yet you want to fast forward to your future. Why not just enjoy the ride? Not to mention all the horrendous side effects, taking years off of your life and so on, as well as at 14 years of age, you don't even know what you want. You might think you want to be a bodybuilder to look smash your muscles and so on. Couple of years later, you're thinking, no, I don't even like weightlifting. I want to do something else. This is not the time to experiment with dangerous drugs, and do it in secret.
I'm gonna get my physique going as quickly as possible. I do not care about side effects. I don't care about any implications of, oh, this guy's using drugs. Like, none of that shit really fazed me.
My opinion is this is what happens when your parents don't say no. Oh, my son is special. He's neurodivergent, and so I'm just gonna give him whatever he wants, whenever he wants. There's something that's very important that I was taught when I was a kid, and that is known as patience. Sometimes you have to wait. You don't just get whatever you want right away. I mean, if your goal later in life is to have children, start a family, should you start at 14? Hey, I didn't want to wait, and so I found myself a girl.
So your mom, she competed as a bodybuilder, and your dad lifts, works out.
Parents were bodybuilders. Does anyone think that growing up in a household where the parents are maybe obsessed with their looks, their appearance, the dieting, the perhaps taking steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, that it might have been noticed by a younger individual and that they might have looked up to those parents and thought, you know what, looks really do matter. I mean, look at how much my mom and my dad are obsessed with it. And so I want to use steroids. And where do you think he got steroids at 14? Is it possible, maybe, that he got it from their parents? Snuck in the room, found it, and started using it in secret. Do you think it's possible?
How did your parents react?
My parents would, go through my room and find steroids, often confiscate them. So that'd be a bit of a burden.
A bit of a burden. My parents, they're losers. They confiscated my testosterone. I'm 14. I know what I'm doing. I'm a full-grown adult. I'm smarter than them. Maybe not as smart as Mike Israetel with his 160 IQ, but I'm smarter than my parents, and how dare they take my drugs away from me? I mean, if your kid continues to get steroids at 14 and you're a parent, you need to do whatever you need to do to make it stop happening. I don't care if it means pulling them out of school, having a camera installed in every room of the house and saying, look, there ain't no steroids coming into this house. And by the way, we're getting blood work done, perhaps at AlgoRx. You can click the link in the description, get the blood work, and we are going to see whether it's from AlgoRx or any other provider. I don't care, but we are testing you to make sure there's no way you're going to be 14 years old living in my house and on steroids.
So it was hard at first, but eventually they started to realize that there was nothing that they could do about it. I was always going to do whatever it takes.
I am not a parent. Admittedly, I am not sure exactly what I would do, but I'm sure they could have done something. Did they try? How hard did they try? I mean, if you're a parent watching this and you have a 14-year-old and they say, hey, mom and dad, you know what? I'm going to use meth and alcohol and drugs, steroids. I don't care about that, mom. I'm not going to wait. I'm Gen Z and we get to do what we want. We get to change into boys or girls at the age of 12 if we want. And so if I want to use drugs behind your back, I'm doing it. You can't say no. That is not how it works.
I wouldn't even say it was influenced by anyone else. It was a purely logical decision. I didn't really see people like David Layden and think, oh, I want to be like this guy.
How many people think that that's true? That no one influenced him to want to have a jacked physique, to kind of look like David Layden. It wasn't the fact that he perhaps had social media and was presented all these amazingly good-looking bodies and thought, you know what, I want that. How is it possible that he wasn't influenced by that? He appears to be intelligent the way that he speaks, his knowledge, but yet it's almost like he's lying to himself. Clavicular. How can you not see that you are influenced to do these things, that you are a product of your environment? Whether it's your parents, your friends and family, or swiping on your phone, how can you possibly think that you aren't influenced to take steroids to develop a better physique because of your environment?
You know, if this makes sense mechanistically, then I'm going to do it. Like, I'm a hyper-logical guy, and I don't really get influenced by other people.
Wasn't influenced by anyone. Why did you want muscles in the first place? You must have seen somewhere that people with bigger muscles, better bodies, taller, better looking, that they have an easier time in life, which of course is true. But just because that's true doesn't mean you alter your genetics, that you start abusing steroids at 14 in order to grow faster.
And I knew that the measures would be extreme, but I was like, well, you know, this is kind of what it takes, you know, and I was always someone who's willing to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes, does that not bear a striking resemblance, in fact, a carbon copy of Rich Piana, doing whatever it takes? But no, I wasn't influenced by anybody.
These people, these Looks Max creators, we're all genetically gifted. They don't really understand, you know, how it is to grow up not exactly good looking.
These other Looks Maxers, you know, they were all blessed by being attractive. Me, I'm ugly. I mean, look what I have to work with. I'm only 6'2" and I look like frickin' Superman. Does this guy not look like a slimmer, less body fat version of Henry Cavill? But I have an uphill battle. Look, bro sitting in this chair, he's 5'6". Now granted, I am 6'5" when I'm sitting on my wallet, but on a normal day-to-day basis, I'm 5'6". And yeah, he's a famous rapper, but I had to work for those things.
It never made me insecure. I never really had my life altered in any way. I just knew that something needed to change.
The fact that he's 6'2" alone, it almost doesn't even matter anything else. If you're 6'2" and you're not fat, you're above average looking.
I'm so glad that I look a little bit more mature, you know, than I actually am in terms of my age.
What's like the scientific reason that you look older?
He looks older because he took steroids. It affected the androgen receptors and he's aged. A lot of people say when you take testosterone and so on, it can make you look older. So let me get this straight. When you're younger, you want to look older, but then when you're older, you want to look younger. It takes your entire life to learn the things that you wish you knew when you were younger. If I could go back and make changes, I absolutely would. He's 19. When he's 50, if he makes it to 50, he's going to look back on this and say, I shouldn't have taken steroids at 14. This was stupid. This was moronic. What was I thinking? But he doesn't yet have the wisdom. He's a Gen Z teenager. He's done this. He likely has rarely hung out with friends. And so he doesn't even know what he actually wants.
I've also used things like HGH. So just all these different growth pathways being elevated led to, me looking a little bit older.
How has bro even afforded to get all these drugs? Growth hormone, testosterone, masterone, orals, aromatase inhibitors, meth, Adderall, the list goes on and on.
Do you value hard work at all?
No, absolutely not. I value efficient work. I value smart work. Hard work is a ridiculous concept.
Does it not remind you a little bit of Togi?
Do you enjoy it? Like when we're training right now, do you feel like I'm looking forward to this, or it's just more of like let's get this workout done so I'm one day closer?
Right now, I am not having fun.
But yet he's made it. And so his influences, other young kids are going to see Togi and say, I also want to take steroids. I also want to gamble. I want to be a famous social media influencer. I see a lot of similarities between this guy and Togi. And isn't it strange, or is it a coincidence? They're all tall. Togi about 6'3", this guy about 6'2". Maybe it has an effect.
I think people value hard work because you learn a lot on your journey.
I mean, why work hard when you can just get it like that? Why train for 5 or 10 years to get the physique what you want when you can just abuse steroids and get it in 5 months? I'll tell you why, and this may seem cliche, but it's all about the journey rather than the destination. I'm 50, I've been your age, and I know what it's all about. The fun is in the journey, making the gains, going to the gym, looking in the mirror and seeing yourself improve. Whether it's your times in your run or your bike ride, your swim, getting better at your sport, your instrument, whatever. It's not about just getting there. It's about the fun you had in the process. When you apply yourself and you work hard, the dopamine released when you do get that goal, perhaps you win that race. You win that bodybuilding show, or you finally hit 225 on the bench press. That is an amazing feeling and makes you want more. And so dopamine that you have to work hard for, that's the kind of dopamine that you want. The dopamine you can get very easily. Now that is very dangerous. This includes sniffing creatine, using recreational drugs, and so on. Those things you need to be careful. If he can quickly get a surgery and immediately he looks better, he's not going to want to put in the work. Why would I bother doing things that take months in order to improve when I can do it right now? This results in a person that is going to be lazy. He isn't going to be a hard worker. Notice he doesn't value hard work. And so that is going to hurt you down the line.
I personally hate going to the gym now. I find it, kind of shitty to start the day, have to go to the gym. I think of it as a chore.
Have to go to the gym. Do you know how much that hurt me? I was talking to my sister about this the other day, how people don't appreciate the fact that they get to go to the gym. My sister with stage 4 cancer on chemotherapy, she's thankful that she can still train. Imagine how hard it is for her to do that. She feels sick, she's throwing up, she's in pain, but yet she's still happy that she gets to go and work out. She gets to go for a walk. Yet guys like Clavicular, I hate it, I have to go work out. Imagine telling that to someone with stage 4 cancer.
Like if there was a pill you could take that would make you as smart as possible, already learn everything, be as jacked as possible, look perfect, like would you take that?
Absolutely.
Where's the trick question here? Of course I would. The problem is that pill has side effects. What he's taking, the various drugs that he's on, they don't come with no consequences, one of which, it's shortening his time here on this earth. Why not preface the section with, would you take a pill that does this, this, and this if you knew it's taking 20 years off of your life? Now, when you're young, 14, 17, 19, whatever, you're going to say yes because you don't appreciate just how important that time actually is. When you're young, you think you have your entire life, which technically you do. But that entire life gets shorter as you get older.
Because I'm trying to optimize every single metric of my life. I'm not only interested in fitness, right?
Notice that his journey is almost over. He's nearly optimized. And so what are you going to do then? Remember, I previously just stated, it's all about the journey rather than the destination. When you're natural, that journey is a lot longer. When you're on steroids, you're going to get your final physique, final form a lot sooner. And then what? What are you going to do once you can't put on any muscle? Once you have to come off?
Or do you prioritize health?
I would say no. I would say that functionality is a better word than health.
I mean, is this guy Mike Isertel? Like, how can he not care about his health? Actually, that's a good comparison. Mike Isertel had surgery to remove 20 pounds of body water, which he didn't have. And this guy is getting facial reconstruction surgery, getting a double mandibular implant, a nose job, all kinds of stuff. I don't even know what he's getting technically. And for what? Does he not already look good enough?
So you don't care about maximizing your lifespan as much as your day-to-day.
Yeah, I'm not a huge longevity guy.
Not a huge longevity guy. And so Brian Johnson would be rolling over his grave, but Brian Johnson's going to live forever. And so he must be thinking, how can I fix this guy? What is going on? 2025, you've heard it here first.
Why are you spending $100,000 on surgery to go from 6'2" to 6'6"?
I've always valued presence super, super highly, right? You walk into a room, people notice, right?
Tell me you're not insecure when you're already 6'2" and look like freaking Superman, but now you need to be 6'6" so that everyone notices you, that your presence is felt by everyone. Why is he so insecure that he needs all these things? Remember, it's not just that he wants it, that it would be cool if it was true. We can all play make-believe. Sometimes I wish I was 6'5" when I wasn't sitting on my wallet. But I'm not going to cut my legs and go through 1 year of torture in order to be taller. Limb lengthening surgery, really, when you're 6'2"? I mean, I've heard of wearing foot inserts, perhaps make you a couple of inches taller, but this is absurd.
Because people will come up to me and they'll say, oh, well, 6'2", you know, that's already very tall. But in terms of percentiles, it's only 91st percentile, right? 6'6", we get to 99th.
You're already at the 95th percentile, but that isn't enough. Newsflash, 6'6" is not hotter than 6'2". Unless you're a volleyball player, perhaps a basketball player, you don't need to be 6'6" to be attractive. There's such a thing as too much of a good thing. If you're too tall, it can actually hurt your chance with the ladies. Women love a man who's 6'2", perhaps 6'3", maybe even 6'4". But when you keep getting taller, there's less people that actually want that. I mean, if you were 8'9", would that be better than being 6'2"? I don't think so.
So you want to be 99th percentile at all aspects of life?
Absolutely.
Except maybe longevity.
Yeah.
Do you know what the number one predictor of longevity actually is? Your VO2 max. And so if he cared about living a long and healthy life, do you know what he would prioritize? Hard cardio. And so, for example, when I was racing bikes, improving my VO2 max well beyond the 99th percentile, that is going to have me living longer. Rather than taking meth, other drugs, and trying to looks max. What good is looking amazing when you're dead before the age of 50?
So it's a very treacherous process. It's very painful. You have to be under close supervision with doctors.
We've actually seen a man who's done this. You've seen him walking with the crutches. He's well over 6 feet tall. And he also looks maxed, trying to be taller. He just looks like a freak. He has the longest legs you've ever seen with no muscle on them whatsoever. He can barely walk. And yeah, he's the tallest man when he's on the airplane. How is that a good thing? Just because you're the most of something doesn't mean it's a good thing.
We know that every single inch, you grow past 6 foot, you're adding like an additional $500 to your average annual income in America.
And so he makes a great point. It's true. As you get taller, your income, it goes up. There's literally a correlation. Also, your perceived value from a female, for every inch, it's approximately $30,000. And what does that mean? I'm only 5'6". He's 6'2". He's literally 8 inches taller than me. This is 9.5 inches. He's a lot taller. 8 times 30, $240,000. And so I would have to earn $240,000 more per year to be deemed equally attractive to most females. And so if you have more height, you don't need as much money. And so the taller you are, the more poor you can be and still get a quality lady. And to the opposite extent, the more money that you have, the less height that you actually need. Hence, 5'6", but 6'5" when standing on my wallet.
So I think it's very reasonable, knowing these disparities, knowing things about dating app statistics and how women are literally just filtering out people completely under outrageous height percentiles.
But do you really want to be with a woman who's going to have a height profile limiter set at 6'3"? He's 6'2". Would he really want a woman who thinks that looks are that important that they have to be 6'3"? If you have a woman that thinks, I'm not dating anyone under 6'3", there's the door. You don't need to be with this girl. There's certain things that are just so superficial that why would you bother? And to the same extent, this man is already attractive. Now, imagine him with limb lengthening surgery, with the cheek implants, the nose job, and all of these things. What kind of woman is going to want to be with this man? Are you really going to want to be with a man who's putting on makeup next to you in the morning, getting in your way, and saying, hey, is it smudging? How do I look? That isn't very masculine. And so although it pays off to be beautiful, not when you have to go through these expenses.
I just don't really think that people are logical. I think that people want to live in fantasy land. That's the blue pill. Just someone with my brain chemistry, someone who's a little bit neurodivergent, it's just kind of unavoidable.
And so he's saying, hey, I'm red-pilled. I'm neurodivergent, and I can't live in fantasy land with the normies. And so I need to look smacks because I realize what's going on. No, you don't. You're already attractive. And if you were smart, you would know that you've already got it made.
About how the face is all that matters. And, you know, that bodybuilding and physique, it was cope.
Yeah, we get it. The face is more important than the body. He says it's 70% 30. There's nothing wrong with working on both. There's nothing wrong with building up your muscles, getting a proper tan, being lean, and shaving, whitening your teeth, perhaps getting Botox. But there has to be a line in the sand drawn somewhere when it comes to getting dangerous surgeries, limb lengthening, and so on.
The face is more important, and everything started to get worse as my face got more bloated, got more acne from doing the caloric surplus.
Bro, I thought you were smart. You're on steroids. What do you think is more likely causing the acne? Steroids or peanut butter?
But if someone is hyperlogical, doing the things that I'm doing, they can probably go up in look scale by 30 to 40 percentiles.
Honestly, that is in fact a lot. But I don't think you need to go through limb lengthening as well as cosmetic surgery in order to do so. There's nothing wrong with trying to look your best. But why can't that involve eating a healthy diet, going to the gym, dressing nicely, getting proper grooming, perhaps straighten your teeth? I mean, I'm looking at his mouth and thinking of all the surgeries that he's doing, all he needs is some Invisalign, and it would make his smile significantly better. There's nothing wrong with using ointments, creams, and so on, but when you have to start putting on makeup every single day, and without it, you don't feel good about yourself, or if you notice that you're using a filter. If you're on Instagram and you start filtering all of your photos, well, why are you gay? I mean, let's be honest. If you keep using filters and you see yourself on Instagram and then you compare yourself when you look in the mirror, you're going to be disappointed. And whose fault is that? It's yours. If you are bombarded with images on social media where you're filtering your own photos and then you go out into the real world, you're not going to be happy because you're comparing yourself. And remember, comparison is the thief of joy. This man, Clavicular, says that he is influenced to do anything, that he's his own man and he's just logical. I disagree. I think he's comparing himself to other people and saying there's better looking people out there, and so I need to do better. And how is it helping when once you put on that makeup once and you look at yourself and you see that you look better? Oh, wow, the complexion's gone. Those bags, I don't see them. The eyebrows are tainted and I have on a nice glow hue. My cheekbones are coming out more. I'm sticking needles in my eyes so that I can have hunter eyes. How can I now go out without it? To the same extent, once you start using and abusing steroids, as this man has, how are you ever going to go off? Once you see the reflection in the mirror, you see the pump, the biceps, the chest, the wide shoulders. How are you then going to go off those steroids and look back and say, well, I used to look better? Very, very disappointing.